My work really does follow the seasons. In the wintertime, I work with ice. And in the summer, I work with plant materials. And every year, I have to switch gears as the seasons change. In the Weedrobes, I'm actually talking about where things come from and where things go after you've used them. What I'm doing is trying to make a garment that's 100% compostable. I was born in a small town in Ontario. My mother had her own dress shop for 10 years, so I grew up in this dress shop, running between the racks, trying on hats. I was always dressing up. That was my favorite thing to do. I left the East to move to British Columbia. It's turned out great for my practice because there's so much abundance here of plant material. Ideas come to me when I'm in the forest. When you relax yourself, it's as if the creative things are there, they just now have a chance to emerge. The Weedrobes series supports the DIY and eco-fashion movements. I'm interested in elevating the garment from mass-produced industry and reconnecting our bodies with nature through radical forms of organic self-expression. I've placed all of them in a very urban setting. They are actually about how you can appreciate nature in an urban environment. If you dress as a gardener, basically you're invisible to people. And so you can be on a busy street just clipping leaves off and nobody will give you a second glance. My favorite leaves are magnolia leaves. They're large and they're very hardy. So when I want to be able to pierce them with the thorn, they won't rip. Yucca creates these big white blooms and long fronds, laurel leaves, and lilacs. The camellia flower is one that I've used quite a bit because I have a humongous bush of it, and to fall off of it, it was just so much, right? I've come up with a technique of actually pinning the leaves together. Instead of pins, I'm using thorns. Thorns to me are a great symbol of what we suffer for fashion. So it's not just a pretty dress, it has this edge to it. There's always a structure underneath that is made either with some kind of reed or cattail that's woven together, and it has areas where I can just insert the leaves. Of course, it will all wilt. So I'm trying to make it as fast as possible, keep it fresh long enough while I'm working on it. Often the garment idea comes from a plant. So as an example, these little helicopters from the maple tree, I thought they would make a great kind of fringe. I thought, well, that's kind of like a fringe dress from a flapper, and then I started creating the whole idea around that character. One of the Weedrobes that I created, Laurel Suffragette, was this character that came from the Victorian age. The suffragettes were the women that instigated women being able to vote. She was very involved in rights of immigrants, immigrant workers, women's rights. She was coming to present-day Robson Street, that's Vancouver's fashion district, to see if things had changed. She would ask people, first of all, what their clothes were made of.
And it's made in Mexico. So think about it, when you buy a shirt, look at the tag, think about where it's from, how it's made, what it's made of, what's going to happen to it when you're done with it.
One of the really interesting things about doing work in the public sphere is interacting with people. Like when we did the lilac dress, people are going, wow, the smell, because you could smell the lilacs, like the whole thing made out of lilacs, a block away. My whole process is performative and it is interacting with the public, and that's one of the things that I discovered I really love to do. Even the photo shoot itself is a performance. I put a lot of effort into scouting the location, setting up the shot, dealing with the lighting. I almost want to mimic a professional photo fashion shoot, but of course the dress is made out of flowers. Where I see my work going in the future with the Weedrobes collection is having them be these mobile things that you can actually live in also. The first mobile garden dress has pots of edible plants. So it's growing lettuce and onions and all sorts of things, herbs. It's truly mobile, and a person could live in it because the skirt actually acts as a tent. It's still 100% compostable. You can actually take it all apart and drag it behind you. The dress becomes a self-sustaining little ecosystem in its own right. Often when I'm doing the Weedrobes, they'll say, "Oh, well, how long will this last?" And I'll go, "Well, a few days." And they'll go, "Oh, well, you could try and soak these in glycerin," or they start giving me all sorts of ideas of how I could preserve the dress. And then I have to say, well, actually, that's not the point. The point is that it is going to decay, and that's still going to be beautiful when it decays. I've actually documented the decay of the dress in my garden. I put it out for months and then I go back and I start photographing it as the things are changing color. That's when you see people's gears kind of shifting and going, "Oh wow, it still looks amazing." Being an environmental artist isn't just about working with natural materials. It's about learning that I'm part of nature, that I'm not separate from nature. I'm working with things that are ephemeral, that aren't going to last. And it's teaching me how to let go.